I just say at the top of this, we just returned Saturday afternoon, had 7 days on a trade mission accompanied by corn growers, soybean growers, dried edible bean folks, Ecolab, Mayo Clinic, Medical Alley, a lot of startups who were with us in a trade mission to Switzerland and Germany, as we at the sub-federal level making the case, and our European partners know this, we don't control federal tariff policy, but states have a lot of autonomy to be able to invest. And we've seen this since we started in 2019. The Japanese probably figured this out before anybody else. They came not out of Washington, they came to the States. And in the 6 years since Japan first made visits here, we've doubled direct foreign investment from Japan and growing. We did a Boston Scientific launch. We had Philips that came from the Netherlands. And this time we made contact with, especially in the space of ag and ag tech, clean tech, and med tech. We attended the Medica trade show, which is the world's largest in Dusseldorf, which is a medical device and medical breakthroughs trade show that is, the scope of it is simply stunning. It's the Minneapolis Civic Center full to the brim, imagine that. There are 17 halls that size and bigger, represented by nearly 70 countries and thousands of established device companies, many of them, of course, Medtronic. We spent time with 3M, who has a heavy presence right outside Dusseldorf, and made contact with the case that Minnesota is the epicenter of all three of those ag tech, clean tech, especially med tech with the Mayo Clinic, the advent of biolabs. We spent time in Berlin with the Berlin Institute of Health at Charité Hospital, which is the premier research facility in Germany, as long as folks from Paris and around Rochester, Mayo Clinic, Medical Alley, about the potential growth and the breakthroughs that are there. So it's a very successful mission. I think over the coming months you'll see those things start. It takes a little bit of time, but you'll start to see those investments come around those areas. And we're excited about that because, look, the rest of the world's depending on U.S. leadership. They are very confused at this point in time. Switzerland had a 39% tariff put on them, one of the highest in the world, and Switzerland's a highly advanced manufacturing society, and it's things that we can learn from. So we spent time with their companies. And then I had the opportunity to address some of the largest trade group, the American Chamber of Commerce, the Transatlantic Business Initiative, and then Aspen Institute put on a presentation with the German Council on Foreign Relations that we were able to address what the situation is. So highly successful. I think we'll hear from some of those, and just really proud of Minnesota kind of standing up in this space where the Europeans are looking for leadership. With that, I take any questions. Yeah. Yeah, well, very concerned, and I think we're making great progress across the spectrum of housing. Certainly, the effort has been made in a holistic approach. We've done it, the legislature, and the work that we've done out of our administration. I think we're seeing that across the board. The SNAP cuts, we see this. We still have got to, I will share this, is all of these things around people, they don't come in pieces, so it's housing, it's food security, it's health care. We still have not got an answer on the enhanced subsidies. I did see the president put out what appears to be more than a concept of a plan, a little bit about the extension of those enhanced subsidies, which I want to see how our congressional delegation rectifies with telling us that those enhanced subsidies on the ACA were the worst thing that ever happened, drove up costs, put people out, and now the president is advocating to reinstate, which they need to do, the enhanced subsidies. So yes, I'm concerned. I think they all fan together. I think the lack of focus on some of those basic programs that we know that have reduced housing insecurity has worked. That is a big bird, so huge. So please.
There's a big news conference yesterday about hemp. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
about that as well. Do you have any ideas about what you can do on the state level to help the
Yeah, we're exploring it, and again, I think this is the problem when you had, the big the big bill come out, that no one was, this was a surprise to everyone that this would be in there. I think we have a thriving industry. While it's new, we're starting to see now that I think our regulatory process, I think everything around, and this is of course on the cannabis side of things, but hemp adjacent where we've had the opportunities, it's very disruptive. So I think at this point in time, we certainly welcome that industry. We welcome the work that had been done. And listening to the folks who are in this, this came out of left field to them, unprepared for it, and I think we're still trying to understand what that means. Yes?
Governor, good morning. I want to ask you about the issue of fraud. I know your administration is
Yep.
taking some pretty bold steps recently
Yes.
to prevent fraud, to create stronger safeguards. But I want to ask you a historical question. If you look back at the chronology of how some of these cases came about, one feature you see is there were instances in which the perpetrators of these schemes used allegations of fraud, allegations of racism to beat back questions and accountability. I'm wondering, as you look back historically, what role you think the post-George Floyd era politics played in the government's response, and whether you think in some instances it inhibited Democrats from acting more forcefully?
Yeah, well, this is a thoughtful question. I appreciate it. It's one to be up. First and foremost, the fraud undermines trust in government. It undermines programs that are absolutely critical in improving quality of life. There's a reason Minnesota ranks near the top in all categories on quality of life. And when it comes to fiscal responsibility in all the other areas, again, we rank as a top state in AAA bond rated, about long-term stability, about tackling, which we did collectively together, but the fraud undermines that. And I think the idea of attacking this, getting the tools to do it, the post-COVID world did several things. One is there was a lot more money put out there with a lot less safeguards around it as they were crafted. And now, as we're trying to stop these things, it's painful for some. It's painful because we're going to have to. We know that there's folks that didn't participate in this fraud that are being hurt by it. But I think this question of racism came up. I think we all know there was an incidence of a dinner that was held that was celebrating and an attack on the Commissioner of Education. And from our perspective in government, it doesn't matter the nationality, the religion, or whatever it is. These are criminals who need to be pursued and need to be stopped. But I hear you, and I hear where people are at. Is this targeting certain communities, whatever? Certainly from our perspective, we are targeting criminals. And wherever they come from and wherever they're at, they are going to be punished. They are going to go to prison. We saw a lengthy 10-year prison sentence issued yesterday, which is exactly what needs to happen. But I think one of the biggest things that we were trying to grapple with is that amount of money that was being moved so quickly, and the federal government relaxing some of the requirements around it, and then how these things were formed. That's unacceptable. The public has a strong responsibility. We went to court over this several times, continuing to say it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Nobody's being targeted based on race. Nobody's being targeted based on economics or anything like that. You're being targeted if you're committing criminal activities. And I think in the moment that we're in, you're seeing it federally, a massive PPP. You even see members of the House here talking about other members in their PPP loans. We've got to restore trust in the system. And so I will say, I hear you on this. I think it's an interesting question. I am not, I hear it. I want to reassure Minnesotans. First and foremost, we're tackling the fraud, but this has nothing to do with racial. And we did not pull back off because there were accusations on this. The commissioner was accused of racism. When we asked the courts to stop payments, the courts reinstituted the payments, and a celebration was had about the demise of the education commissioner. We're going to stay in the pace of this. If you're committing fraud, no matter where you come from, what you look like, what you believe, you are going to go to jail.
Just to clarify, you don't think Democrats were paralyzed or inhibited based on the politics of that era? You don't think that stood in the way?
Well, I can only speak for our administration. We were not. It's certainly, your question, as I said, is a good one, because it was very clear to us when that 2021 dinner celebration, because they beat the state, and when they say they beat the state, they forced us to repay them again when we had stopped payment. And it turns out that they were committing fraud, and then eventually we sent them there. That was there was a moment that it was very clear that the accusations against the state, that the state was pursuing these things for racial reasons, we never viewed it that way. We never stopped pursuing it. And whether it was in the legislature or not, I guess that's a question for them to ask.
One of the latest defendants charged, I think just yesterday or today, though, is 2021-2022. Prosecutors say he claimed he was serving 6,000 meals a day in a town that had half of that
Yeah.
many people, and somebody else was also claiming, to be serving meals in that town. So how do
Yeah, these are people, they should have been caught, and we get.
like that not catch, raise red flags at MDE and get stopped in the moment?
Well, there has been leadership changes across agencies, as you well know. The law was written a certain way to have them put them out, but we're saying, yes, exactly right. I asked last legislative session, not just for the authority, which I have now to stop payments, which we've done. We didn't have that before. But we also asked for some technology around AI to be able to put these out. So I think, as I said, the default position is to try and help people, to try and move the money out. There needs to be balanced against being skeptical on things. We're seeing fake applications come in now. Some, I think, trying to see if they can commit the fraud to make an issue out of it. But these are all things that we're getting better at. And I would say right now, we saw it both from the auditor and we saw it from CMS, that Minnesota's probably taking a more aggressive approach than anybody else. And I am going to balance that with making sure that Minnesota cares for our people in housing, cares for our people in food, cares for our people in some of the health services they get. But these are questions that you can't allow it to happen. And that's what we're stopping. So I can assure you, other governors have dealt with fraud. We dealt with it on a pretty large scale coming out of COVID. My goal is to make sure that in the future, the safeguards are in place, the mechanisms are there, the law is on our side to be able to make sure that we're able to stop it. Yeah.
You addressed the president's post on Friday night.
Yeah.
TPS, making the motion, I guess.
Yeah, look, we welcome anybody. The federal prosecutors have been great here on helping us. Our partners have been good on doing this. As we expose this, we turn it to them, they do the prosecutions. It's not helpful where the president went beyond fraud and decided to, again, target an entire community, try and extrapolate from this people who are here legally, fleeing civil war, living in Minnesota. That's not helpful. At the same time, remember, it was this administration that cut our anti-terrorism dollars, our anti-fraud stuff on the federal level. So we welcome support from folks. We welcome, and I will say, the U.S. attorneys here have been incredibly helpful with doing this. But this is the president distracting from his own problems of threatening to kill United States senators for expressing the responsibility of the Constitution. So this is not surprising. It's unhelpful. But what I would say is that if the president wants to help us on the fraud sides of things, if he wants to help us with USDA and other agencies to make sure that they're tightening up, we welcome that. But what he did was simply stirs the pot. It brings up the divisions amongst us, and it doesn't do anything to actually tackle the actual fraud issue, which we would welcome that help.
So, Paul, House Republicans put out a letter requesting the U.S. Attorney look into allegations that fraud money is going to fund terrorist groups.
They should do that.
How do you feel about that letter?
Yeah, they should do that. They did that back before. They did it in 2018, 2017. They did it before. There wasn't a connection. They should find that connection. These are folks that stole from us. And again, differing from D.C. and corruption, this is fraud against Minnesota. I welcome them to do that. That seems to me to be a simple thing, but I would say here in Minnesota especially, Monday morning quarterbacking after everything is not helpful. These are folks could do your job ahead of time, do these things, do your audit that is due in the House of Representatives, because we have Republican members accusing other Republican members of fraud in a program. So I'm encouraging, if you want to send this letter out, include yourselves in that so that we can find out. So I welcome it. I think it's the right thing to do. I don't know if they'll find the connection. You certainly can't speculate, but what I will tell you is unhelpful is do not paint an entire group of people with that same brush, demonizing them, putting them at risk when there is no proof to do that. But if you want to help us and you want to go after the criminals and you want to make sure there's no connection or find out where the money went, we welcome that. We'll work with you on that.
All right, I think colleagues in the NFL were on record in the Star Tribune this past week raising concerns about you running for a third term and whether it's a good idea. Have they shared this with you
Well, here's what I would share with you. That is a dog bites man story. Imagine that, nervous Democrats. Not surprised, I would say, as someone who has been on the ticket and won 3 statewide elections, someone who has a track record of moving Minnesota into the top in so many categories of working together, I certainly can understand if they're concerned. This is just kind of what you do. It's an election year. But against a backdrop of a federal government that is an absolute train wreck, I think we'll keep the focus on moving Minnesota forward. We'll keep the focus on making life more affordable. We'll keep the focus on welcoming people to Minnesota and the human dignity. And next November, I am quite confident that Minnesotans will give me the opportunity to continue the work we're doing. But I want to make sure I say to Minnesotans again, be careful on the roads, because you're going to be a lot of family going, a lot of folks are driving, a lot of people out there. But I think in a moment where it feels like everything is meant to cause confusion, to cause anxiety, to doom scroll on your phone, we're very, very blessed to take a step back, to understand how lucky we are to live in a state of this type of abundance where neighbors care about neighbors and get to spend some time together. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Happy Thanksgiving to Minnesotans, and enjoy that turkey dinner. Thank you all. Look at this.